today's show is going to be great.
Amazing.
I can't wait for today's
Love
show.
sweet.
Yes,
Queen V.
awesome.
Empress. Time to sweep.
Hope you're ready. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, once again to another show of S.W.E.E.P, sisters who educate and empower with purpose. We're your hostesses. I'm Empress.
And I'm Queen V.
Honey, today's show.
Today's show. Today we're going to talk about divorces in the spotlight of ministry.
Honey,
Pastors and first ladies.
do you know how many divorces are in the spotlight?
Too many.
And it, what? So many divorces in the spotlight. And when I think about the public divorces, the one from 2011, honey.
Which one?
Eddie Long.
Oh.
Bishop Eddie Long. How public was his divorce?
It's like everybody was divorced with Eddie Long.
Everybody was. And what is the part that is almost unbelievable is that his wife went to go file. And when she went to go file, she came back hours later and was like, no, I don't want to file. And then a couple of days later, she says, no, I want to file. I mean, and you think about biggest mega church in Atlanta. Huge church. And they're going through this very public divorce.
It's not like I can just leave.
Yes.
No.
Nobody knows.
Everybody wants to know what's going on, why, how. I bet it was because of this.
Yeah. Oh, speculation.
Yes.
You know that's what he dealt with. You know he dealt with all kinds of speculation, and then it wasn't amicable. She, the ex-wife, mad, honey. She is upset. Well, I mean, who wouldn't be, because they're going through a divorce. And then I thought about Paula White, amazing woman of God. Very public divorce in 2007.
Yes.
However, their divorce, when she split from her husband, it was very amicable. When I was researching this, I was looking at the fact that she was like, we're really good friends, and we knew that it was time. We were going our separate ways. It was very amicable. They parted very peacefully.
Wait, you mean public divorces don't have to be tragic and drama-filled and all over the place? I don't I don't believe you.
No, because we know about Bishop Long's very battlefield, troubled divorce. And then I read about Paula White, and she was just like,
it was
you
over.
know what?
It was time.
It's over. It's done.
We can work together, but we don't have to be married to do it.
What's amazing is that they still work together. They still work in ministry together. And she talked a lot about healing. And I was like, so you can be in the public spotlight and the divorce not be messy? It happens.
You can keep the public out of what's going on.
Absolutely.
You don't have to leak stuff.
Mind your business. Mind your business.
That's for the end of the show.
Oh.
That's for the end of the show.
I got you. So today's topic is definitely about divorce.
It is.
Divorce, and in the spotlight in ministry. I can't even begin to imagine.
Well, you know, so often the congregation gets so close to their leaders, which you want that. You don't want, you know, your pastor on a pedestal that you can't get to. So you're close to the first family, but in reality, you're not in that marriage.
Wow.
And so today, we're going to hear from two very powerful people.
Yes.
Two very, very powerful people. Two preachers. One's a pastor, and one is a former first lady who did get divorces from the people that they were married to at the time, and it wasn't quite as kept. We're just going to do this at home by ourselves. It was a very public, in some cases, very dementing situation and experience.
I can't wait to hear these stories. I can't wait. Let's see what happens.
Let's see what happens.
It's time to sweep. Lady Sharonda Barber is an elder at the New Life Apostolic Church of Dallas, where she serves under the leadership of Apostle Sutton. Lady Barber's road in ministry started as a minister's wife, leading her to minister her first sermon in 2006 and eventually becoming First Lady of the ministry that her and her ex-husband co-founded. Lady Barber is the proud mother of 3 sons, 2 of which are active in their father's church, and the proud grandmother of 1 beautiful granddaughter. The passion in ministry for Lady Barber is ministering to women that have gone through the brokenness of life experiences and are still standing to tell the testimony that I am still here. She serves as the assistant to the women's ministry director in her ministry. Lady Barber's favorite scripture for what she believes should be a core value for seasoned women is Titus chapter 2, verses 3 through 4, that we as older women should be teachers to the younger women. Having a divorce in ministry was a turning point in ministry for Lady Barber. It not only affected their ministry with the congregation, there were close friends that served as pastors and wives and their family as well. Lady Barber says that although the marriage failed, it did not classify her as a failure. When God anoints you with a mantle, the anointing remains, although the position changes. The mantle stays the same. Lady Barber has devoted her life and ministry to be an example that there is still life after divorce, even in ministry. She holds this scripture to her heart, Jeremiah chapter 29, verse 11, for truly God has an expected end.
Minister Corey F. Jackson is a native of Dallas, Texas. He is the loving, dedicated husband to Lady Chelsea, the grateful father to little Caden, and the senior pastor of the Oak Hill Baptist Church. He is a proud alum of the great Wilma Hutchins High School in Dallas, Texas. Minister Jackson has a Bachelor of Theology degree from Liberty Bible College and Seminary. Currently, he is matriculating through the Master of Theology program at Liberty. For over a decade, Minister Jackson has been compelled to preach the uncompromised gospel of Jesus Christ. He received his calling to proclaim the word of God at age 16. In the summer of 1995, Minister Jackson delivered his first message at the Oak Hill Baptist Church under the leadership of Pastor Hosea T. Epps. As his father in the ministry entered into retirement, Minister Jackson was called to be the presiding minister at the Oak Hill Baptist Church in 2006. He continued to use his gifts and talents at Oak Hill as the presiding minister until ordained in December of 2007 and installed as the senior pastor in January 2008. His vision is to promote Christ past the 4 walls of the sanctuary and position the church in the hearts of people that will allow them to see Christ for themselves.
And welcome back. We are here with our invited guest, Pastor Corey Jackson.
Thank you.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
And we have Lady Sharonda Barber.
Hello. How are you?
Good. Thank you for coming.
We have these individuals here because they both went through pretty public divorces a few years ago in the church. Pastor Jackson is still pastoring at the church he was at, and Sister Barber was the first lady at the church at the time.
How long were you guys married?
We were married for 13 years.
And you?
I was married about 4 years, I believe it was.
Okay. And how long have each of you been divorced?
Maybe 5 years now.
Wow.
3 years.
So let's dig right in and find out, what were the major causes of the divorce?
I would say for me that balance, not having the balance with ministry and family was the big thing for us.
And you?
I think it dealt with compatibility issues.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you get connected with those who may be good for you, but not necessarily God's idea for you.
Right. So did y'all date for a long period of time before you got married?
I think we did. It was about 2 years, possibly,
Okay.
before we actually got married.
So you thought this was it. I'm ready.
Yeah, you
This
felt
is her.
that way.
How about you guys?
We dated for 2 years.
you took your time.
Absolutely.
As far as society would say.
Absolutely.
Okay.
So when did you know this is it, it's over, I can't do it?
I would say that there were a lot of instances that were the defining moment, but I think that when the divorce was final, that was the finality for me.
Was there anything that could have, I mean, there wasn't any one significant, like, what did it for you? Like, what was like, I'm done?
I would say the one moment that did it for me was we were in the process of purchasing a house, and things just didn't go the way that we had planned, and that was my defining moment.
What about you?
Our marriage had been on the rocks for almost since day one, actually. We've had several splits. There were several times when we had been separated within that time period. And I think that once I came to the realization that possibly we had jumped into something that was not necessary for either one of us, then that's when I knew that it was time for us to go.
Right. So were your divorces and separations peaceful? Was it just okay, this is not working for us, both of us can let this go? Or was it guns blazing, you did this to me?
I cannot say that it was peaceful in any of them. There was little chairs thrown.
Oh, okay, we're just going to full out fight back.
So it didn't work out too well in the whole separation process.
Okay. Barbers?
It was not peaceful, and I wish that I could say that it was. But it was a decision that was made, and we had to go our separate ways.
Okay. Now, I know that you and your husband had children during your marriage. So how did your divorce affect your boys?
It was very hard on them. With, from the time that they entered into this world, it was always mom and dad. And so for them to see their family fall apart, it was very, very hard on them. And it took a pretty good time for them to get to a place of being okay with what had happened and where we were.
Okay, and how's that going now?
They're good. They're with him. They're part of his ministry and things like that. And they have come to a place that they understand, even though we're not together, he still is dad, I'm still mom, and they still have a family. It's just not what they were used to have.
Right. And I know your son came during the reconciliation part, when you were trying to reconcile.
Right.
So how is growing up with mom and dad already apart going for him?
I think it's a little difficult for him in the house shifting. You at one place this time, you at another place another time. Now he's having to adjust to saying mommy, my other mommy, things of that nature, trying to decipher the difference between the two, between his biological mother and his stepmother. And so, at 3, it kind of gets, tangled up in interpretation. So him trying to, like he called me today, was like, Dad, I want to come to your house. He doesn't really understand the differences at this point.
Wow. Okay. So we know that both of you were in the spotlight at the church during the time of your divorces. So how did your divorces and your separations affect your membership in the congregation? Like, how did they react to their leaders divorcing? No, I don't run and have to answer that.
I'll go. During the time that our divorce was happening, I was not at the ministry. But I will, I'm not exactly sure of the things that were said or what have you, and I'm sure that he told his, version of what happened. But they still had the respect for me. I would see them out and about, and even would get the phone calls that they were still praying that we would have reconciliation. So, they kept the level of respect, and I think that they also kept the level of respect for him because he was their leader.
Right.
And so, like I said, I'm not exactly sure how much it affected them, but I know that the respect they kept for me was still there.
That's wonderful. How did your church react?
It was a very difficult move. I believe that in the process and transition of it, I lost a lot of the trust of the membership. There was a internal church split where you had one side that was pro-pastor, but then you had the other side that was pro-first lady, and so it generated an internal struggle. And throughout the middle of it, because people were trying to cope with what had just happened, there was a whole lot of things that came up. There was a whole lot of different ideas of why the marriage went the way that it did. I was accused of being with this person, that person, this person. And so it generated a lot of distractions in the ministry that ultimately caused a major struggle as it relates to trying to minister to people, because we had to get past the idea that the leader that's ministering is the cause of the church hurt or the church struggle or whatever the case may be. And so it was a very difficult time in transition.
So how long ago was your divorce?
We separated in 2009. So we've been apart from each other about a total of 5 years.
Okay. So 2015 is here. How do you think your church has mended from that? That everybody that was affected, that was going to stay, has stayed, and everybody that was going to leave has left, and you're able to grow? Or do you still feel like your past is still dragging behind you?
I think a lot of that is still present. And I think a lot of people, or some, still hold that as a level of standard for their pastor. But for the most part, I do believe that the church has moved past it. They have began to embrace the newness of marriage, in which I have. So with that being the case, there's a shifting of embracing the new and getting rid of the old thoughts or the old ideas of what had previously gone on.
So do either one of you think that marriages have to end in a battle? Do they all have to go the way yours did?
I think that when there are two mature adults that come to a place in life to where you know that this is just not working for us, that we come to an agreement that, we just need to go our separate ways. I think that being in ministry, we especially need to be an example. People are looking at the church and they're having a difficult time trying to separate us from the world. And so if we could, just be mature about it, we know that this is not working, let's agree that, we just need to go our separate ways, make it happen. It doesn't have to end in a battle.
I don't believe that it has to either. I think it becomes almost like a power struggle, especially when you are in the light of other people.
Right.
Because now it becomes perception, it becomes my image, and all these different things that come under question now. And so you fight not to necessarily keep the marriage, but you fight to keep that image.
Okay.
So, did this divorce affect whether you guys want to remarry or not?
In the beginning,
just was not happening. I'm not doing that anymore.
We're done.
just remembered, and then it was, I didn't want to have anything to do with a marriage, another man, especially nobody in ministry, because everything about me has been put out there,
Right,
you know.
right.
But truly, time does heal all wounds, and I'm back at that place to where I actually do want to be in a relationship, and I miss the sanctity of marriage, and I remember still another prayer asking God for another opportunity to do it right.
So we know that you are, like you said, newly married.
Yes.
Congratulations. You found love again. How hard was it? How hard was it for you to say, I want to be somebody else, and put her back in the limelight, because you were still pastoring at the time?
And I'll be completely honest with you. I was at a place to where I would tell anybody, if you get married, don't do it, run from it. But I think that if you have the right mate, you have the right one that is worth the struggle, then by all means, jump in there. So you just have to know where God is pushing you.
Right. Right.
So does a divorce have a toll on any current relationships, on your current marriage, on any current relationships? Is it affecting anything?
You're single and loving it, or you're single and looking, or
single and satisfied.
I am single, satisfied, and waiting.
Well, okay.
Say that one more time.
Like single, satisfied, and
Yes.
Wait. So do you see anything from your previous marriage coming up in your current, or is there things you try not to do that you did with your ex, or?
I will say that if you do not heal from the hurt previously, you'll walk into your next relationship expecting or looking for some of the same things. And so sometimes it could be something real innocent that you'll take and you can blow it out of proportion simply because you've already been there, you've already done that, you kind of know how this ends, and so you kind of expect it almost. But the truth of the matter is, if you go in with that kind of expectation, then sometimes what you expect is manifested in the relationship.
You create that.
Right.
Okay. So what advice would you give all of our audience members, everybody viewing, about divorce as in the spotlight concerning this ministry?
My advice would be to keep your relationship private. The more public you become with your relationship, it seems like the more you give other people the opportunity to create a comment about what you're dealing with. And the more information that you feed the public or you give to the people, the more ammunition they have to use against you. So make sure that whenever you're going through this kind of a process, that you keep it as private as possible. Do the best that you can to try to work the marriage out. If you just can't work it out, then do everything that you can privately.
Lady Barber?
I have to piggyback on Pastor Jackson. Years ago, when I first got married, my aunt told me that whenever you're having issues with your husband, you have to remember to keep that to yourself, because when you forgive, everybody don't forgive. And so being young and hearing that, I heard it, but I didn't listen. And so I would say, when it comes to divorces and ministry, you need to, for one, remember the respect and keep the boundaries. If there's anything that is happening, like Pastor Jackson said, keep it to yourself, keep it within your marriage, because we are held accountable for everything that we say, everything that we do, and eventually, we'll end up owing God, and we have to pay for not to put our mouths on his, on his kids, and we need to keep that in the forefront, just in a daily walk, period. But especially in marriages, we're being torn down so much already, and we don't need to add any extra.
So what advice would you guys give to congregations that are watching their pastor and first lady split? What would you say to them? Because both of you, or you especially, had so much interjected into your situation. It probably made it worse.
Yeah, and we say that we have to be Christian and strengthen one another until something happens that we don't necessarily agree with.
Those are the words we say.
Yeah. And then once we don't agree with it, then we go from disagreement to attacking one another. When the truth of the matter is that we're supposed to uplift one another. And if you see your brother overtaken in a fault, help to restore them, pray for them. Go to your leaders and ask, is there anything that we can do to make the transition, better or greater? Not to say that the church is supposed to partnership in divorce, but it is supposed to be able to be there to strengthen you or to even counsel you in going through it. And so rather than giving up on your leader, try to help counsel them, try to help restore them. Because even though they're going through this, and even though you're seeing this from a pastor-parishioner perspective, the man is still hurting. So the person is still hurting in all that they go through, because divorce is another way of saying there's a loss. And so to go through a loss, because it affects your income, it affects your household, it affects your children, it affects your families, it affects your calendar, it affects everything. And so with that being the case, help restore the person rather than jump on a bandwagon and say, okay, well, we're against them. That's not what the church is for.
It's the exact opposite, actually.
Right. We're supposed to help each other heal.
Wow. We want to absolutely thank you guys for coming and sharing your lives with us, because believe it or not, your stories helped somebody, because there's somebody who's experiencing it. And we want to thank you guys for coming. And make sure we're going to have y'all back again. That's what we do.
Yes. We can't just bring you on for the negative things that happen in your life. God has been too great.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
There are some more things coming out of what has happened to you guys. There are other things you're involved in. Your ministries are both very powerful. So you will absolutely be back.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having us.
For all of your fence and decking needs, choose a professional with over 40 years experience and a AAA rating with the Better Business Bureau. Super Fence Company is committed to going the extra mile to ensure customer satisfaction. Call 214-454-4847 today and schedule your free estimate. Our motto is, your privacy is our priority.
And now it's time to mop it up, honey. Our moment of purpose.
Yes.
I look forward to this one.
Okay.
Our moment of purpose comes from 1 Thessalonians 4 and 11. And make it your ambition to lead a quiet life. You should mind your own business and work with your hands just as we told you, so that your daily life may win the respect of outsiders, and so that you will not be dependent on anybody.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. This moment of purpose is not necessarily toward those that might be going through the divorce in the public eye, but more toward the congregations that these individuals lead. Believe it or not, you're not married to these men and women. You don't know what happens at home. You don't know what they have to go through to come and minister to you every week or throughout the week. So don't interject yourself into their marriage. Divorce is hard enough. It's painful enough. And it can be, in some instances, about the worst thing that happens to some people. What they don't need is the people that they thought they were close to turning their back on them because of speculation, because of what they heard, because of gossip. You don't know what happened. So give your man and woman of God encouragement and stay out of their business. It's hard enough leading us because we're not always obedient.
Okay.
We don't always take instruction. We do everything we can to do what we're not supposed to do. And then when it comes to the most critical moments, when it comes to our pastor finally needs us, or our first lady finally needs us, we're mad because it's something we know nothing about. So just remember to mind your own business, because we call ourselves Christians, which means the spotlight is always on us. People are looking to us to see how a Christian would handle a situation. And if they hear you gossiping just as much as they do, they'll lose respect for you and the calling you say you have on your life.
Well, work Queen B. I love it.
Not trying to be disrespectful, but just let's help each other.
It's empowering.
Yes.
Because what we don't want to do is make the situation worse.
Right.
And I think a lot of times we as parishioners and as congregation members, we do make it worse when it's something like that. But that was a right now word. I loved it. Mind your own business.
Mind your business. God gives us more than enough to deal with individually than for me to figure out what's going on. If it's not to help and uplift, leave it alone.
And that's what S.W.E.E.P does, and that is what S.W.E.E.P is all about.
All about.
Honey, you know that.
I want to thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining us, and we hope that you come back again for our next episode of S.W.E.E.P. We'll see you soon.